Awesome. So I guess, yeah, thank you again for being here. The goal, just to sort of state it out loud, is to learn from industry pros like you, and then share those stories and insights, because obviously we're facing some very unfamiliar territory. So I guess just high level to kick it off, how are you doing, Adam, sort of adjusting to this new way of life?
Uh, I'm here. I'm still working, so I guess that's a good thing. It's been difficult, obviously not just for myself, but for we're running a very bare bones team right now. Luckily, we got some really big orders in for Costco and some other bigger accounts. So we had to furlough probably about 90% of our total staff, which was the entire brew crew and the packaging crew. Since that happened about 2 weeks ago, we've been able to bring back 2 more brewers and another packaging guy. So we're doing good. I mean, I'm working pretty much 7 days a week, as is everyone else, and trying to do everything we can to keep a cash flow. And I think being in San Diego, such a beer-centric city, is helping us because everyone. I mean, I've had sheriffs stop by, and I'm like, oh, damn it, am I in trouble? And they're like, I just want to make sure you guys are still good. I'm going to be back when I get out of uniform and buy beer. It's rad. So we're definitely getting a lot of community support just to make sure we're able to keep the doors open and keep things good beer.
Good. Yeah, that's all you can do. And sorry, I probably should have kicked off with this. I'll back up a step. For anyone who doesn't know who you are, do you mind telling us a bit about who you are and what your role is over at Lost Abbey / Port Brewing?
Adam Martinez, Director of Media and Marketing. So I, in a nutshell, pretty much everything with our logo or our name on it has to either be created by or approved by me. And that's not only Lost Abbey, it's Port Brewing, it's the hop concept.
Right.
And then we were supposed to launch a new brand like 3 days ago, Tiny Bubbles, which is our newest brand. Hoping to can those beers later in this month and have a nice big launch, but right now it's kind of in a holding pattern.
Sure.
So I handle everything from social media to designing keg collars, labels, copy, all press relations, anything that can be seen by somebody outside of our brewery comes from me.
That's great. How long have you been there for?
7 years this last month, or February, 7 years. Yeah. I worked in radio for 11 years and came over to Lost Abbey. Never had a marketing person, so that was funny. And because it's such a great brand, and you're like, how does that? I remember walking in the first day, I'm like, cool, like, where are all your files and stuff? And they're like, no idea. Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to start from scratch.
Awesome.
But it's been great. It's a great team, great ownership.
Can you talk at all about Tiny Bubbles in terms of like what that? I know a little bit about what the focus is for each of the brands, but since Tiny Bubbles is new, I obviously don't know anything about it.
So Tiny Bubbles is originally brewed by Hollister Brewing up in Northern California, north of Santa Barbara. It's a low alcohol sour ale. So not kettle soured, but a true sour ale. The lactobacillus is still alive in the beer. So they stopped brewing it a few years back. Tommy loved the name. He loved the beer. So he ended up purchasing the recipe and the name from Hollister. We changed up. They never packaged it, so we kind of changed the whole look. I think you can kind of see the label there.
Cool. Yeah.
So we definitely went in a different direction. The goal with this is to create something that's lower in calorie, lower in alcohol. Tommy and I had the same argument when we created the hop concept. And say argument, debate. Originally, he wanted to put it under the Port Brewing brand. I said it didn't fit. The next day, I'd come in. I go, okay, you're right. We should go under Port. And he goes, no, we need a new brand. And we went back and forth for like 2 months. It's like, do we create this new brand or we just put it under what we have? Very similar with Tiny Bubbles is we were thinking about put it under Lost Abbey because it is a sour beer. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we came up with this really cool brand look. It would make no sense to put that character next to a cross. Like it didn't fit. We created the 4th brand. It's kind of going after the hard kombucha and the seltzer crowd, people that don't want something heavy, want something a little lighter in calories. But us being us, it still needed to be beer. So went down that direction, added Brett. So it's kind of just a nice 12-ounce slim can, about 130 calories. Tastes rad, like really, really good. So super refreshing. We're stoked to really kind of launch it and get it out there, especially going into the summer months.
That's awesome. Yeah, good luck. That's a pretty unique approach on the trend, as far as I know, Kevin. I haven't seen anyone else kind of try to do it that way, so that's cool.
No, not really. You said you were planning to launch it 3 days ago. How has this whole COVID thing impacted the launch of it?
Just tank time, really. I mean, the beer is we did a pilot batch and we had some cans kind of we've been sharing around. Um, but once we had to furlough our brew staff, the beers that we had in the tank pretty much needed to get packaged to go to Costco, to go to Trader Joe's, and then as those more orders started coming in, it was, we had pre-orders like, all right, we need to brew the beer that people just paid for, and we need to ship it to them. So it's really just take time and brewing beers in general, especially with a brewery our size, which we're not huge, but we're not small. It's a lot of fitting in pieces where they hopefully go. And with a sour beer, obviously you have to be very careful. It contaminating other beers, other our IPAs, so kind of has to live on its own island and have a dedicated tank where the other beers can kind of go anywhere. So it's just been playing a little game. And, luckily, this last week, Tommy kind of solidified the brew process or the schedule, and it looks like we'll be able to package it hopefully next week.
Nice.
So it'll be interesting. I mean, the brand in general was really meant to be heavily focused on packaged product versus draft, so that actually will help us. But
Yeah.
it's kind of weird having to unveil something with everything going on right now. It's just me at this point. I have staff of one, so I get to launch the whole brand by myself. This is awesome.
Yeah. Well, that obviously this is like a question everyone's probably answering right now, and you've talked about it a little already. But in terms of impact on business, changes you've seen beyond the obvious, what are some of like the biggest adjustments you guys have had to make over the past few weeks?
I'd say the biggest thing is more direct to consumer business. It's been huge in our world. We didn't expect to be able to keep one of our sales guys, and just based on the deliveries we're doing, it's more than paying for his salary. So we've been able to keep him on 2 weeks longer than we thought. So it's been great. My role is really just continue to promote it. I've been digging in the cellar, trying to find cool bottles to put online. So that's been much more focused on my end. People are still spending money. People are still going to drink. So our goal is just make sure we can do whatever we can to get beer in the fridge. We've always shipped beer throughout the state of California, but I've never put any kind of focus on fresh beer, IPAs. It was always barrel-aged stuff in bottles.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out everyone wants to buy super fresh IPAs that get shipped right to your door.
Yeah.
So it's going to change things going forward for sure. Tommy and I have had several conversations about keeping this up even past, when this thing passes, should we keep the delivery option as a thing? I think social distancing in general in society is going to remain a norm now. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people sitting at bars as much as they were if there's a table available. So we're just trying to navigate towards that. And if delivery is a thing that we do 2 days a week, I imagine things will get back to some kind of normalcy, but I think people like it. So it's hard to argue against not doing it if it just means 2 days a week we're taking our car out or our van and dropping beer off. We've thought about a few different things. With ABC relaxing the laws on being able to sell beer anywhere if you're a producer. So that's been cool. And we've been toying around with the idea of taking the van, like parking it and just selling beer out of the back of the van.
Nice.
We didn't do it mainly because an article came out saying like the next 2 weekends are very critical. San Diegans and Californians in general stay home.
Yep.
So we killed it at the last minute. But we were teaming up with another brewery at Ripcon here in San Marcos. Excuse me. Once we started toying around with it, it was like, are we asking people to congregate? Because that's not the look we really want. So we're still kind of toying around with, having the ice cream truck music play while we go down the street.
Yeah.
But right now it's kind of on hold. We just opened the tasting room up. As we spoke last week, I'd worked the bar this weekend.
Yeah.
For about 3 hours, Friday and Saturday. So hoping to get that more consistent. Would probably only do Friday if I'm getting kind of tired and working bars on the thing.
Sure.
but we create business on Friday and Saturday, so it's also hard to turn down when there's money on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was for on-site consumption?
No, to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all bars are closed.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
We had regulars come in. It was funny. Like, can I just get a pint, like, for old time's sake? I'm like, man, I'd love to give you a pint and you just sit here, but I need you to go drink in the parking lot or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Don't ask, don't tell. Okay, just go ahead. Here's a glass on the house. Okay.
How quickly were you guys able to adapt and mobilize to do delivery once it became legal?
Pretty quickly. So I run our online shop, and we were already set up for shipping throughout California. So really, it was me just kind of going into the system and kind of fooling around. We use Nexternal and High Jump. I know a couple of other companies using like Shopify through Postmates and some other tools. But with our system already set up, I run our beer club through our system, so we have a lot of purchases that already go through it, and I know all the ins and outs. So it was really finding that happy medium, figuring out how to add a promo code. So if you were in San Diego County and if you spent $50 or more, we waived the shipping charge. So it was just finding those little niches, and it was pretty easy. It was really easy to kind of hit go. Yeah, luckily, I work with the system pretty much on a daily basis. So just finding those little avenues that I knew I had to fix and figure out the delivery part. And that one's been a little tough, but just figuring, you have San Diego's not a very close-knit town. It's like super expanse.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had an order come in yesterday to San Ysidro, which is like one stop from the Mexican border. We had to send him all the way down there, drop off a beer. He's like, dude, I can see Mexico from that guy's house. I'm like, yeah, I'll see you in 40 minutes then. It's quite a drive.
Yeah.
It was pretty quick. It was quick. Luckily, we had a system that I was able to manipulate and kind of get going. We were one of the first ones in San Diego to do it. We've seen everyone kind of jump on board with it now, which we're more than happy to share the love. I've gotten a few calls from different breweries that asked me, what my system is. And luckily in the beer industry, we've always have a pretty open playbook with other marketing directors. I've had tons of people reach out to me. If I ever need anything, I know I can reach out to someone else in the beer industry and they'll give me the truth. There's some proprietary stuff that I won't share and they won't share, but for the most part, we lead them down the right avenue.
Nice.
That's great. I guess then that makes me think of distributing in general. Now, where all do you distribute to outside of California?
We're in 13 different states. I think the farthest would be Massachusetts. That's been an interesting gauntlet as well that our sales manager Norm is having to deal with. Obviously, all draft sales are done.
Right.
Just expected. Just figuring out where we stand in certain states. I think a lot of distributors are doing their best to minimize freight. So if they are leaning on their local suppliers versus, grabbing a bunch of beer from us and then having it transported.
Right.
Again, understandable, but
sure.
That may be the new norm going forward is, maybe we bring our distribution back home. Even with the launch of Tiny Bubbles, we're going to self-distribute that to start within the state of California. So it's something that we've been contemplating, and now our hand was almost forced a bit to get this done. We'll see where that leads. Self-distribution has been on our checklist for a while, and our sales manager now has the full. He can do whatever he wants now to get that going. So margin-wise, it definitely helps us. It helps us be able to hire more people, even in a time like this, to get more bodies in and get paid and get their livelihoods taken care of. So, it'll be interesting to see how the other states are going. But right now, we're maintaining a pretty good relationship with our distributors. But we'll see how long this lasts. And, if California gets out of it before anyone else, that's great. But we have no idea. We have no idea what the future holds. But we'll be ready. Got plenty of beer.
Yeah, good. Plenty of beer is good. We're all going to need it.
Are you hearing from your distributors, especially the ones that are in other states, are they seeing consumers sort of double down on local brands right now and maybe pause on the nationally distributed ones to support their local communities, or is that not something that they're seeing at this point?
I haven't heard it from the distributors. I think I've heard it more from the beer community. If you're, on Beer Advocate and you read those forums, like everyone's trying to do their best to keep their local brewery or their local watering hole open as much as possible. San Diego, great bar scene, and with the ABC relaxing the rules, they're able to make cocktails to go. And I mean, you're seeing Heady Topper, like all these bars. It's like, holy cow, how's Heady Topper here? And why are you? I mean, granted, if you want to take back, no. But I see it more from the community, and I think it's just us being more vigilant and listening. Sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees, especially from a brewery perspective and what we want to do. We try to keep our ears close to the ground so that we make sure this is what's coming from the community, that we're not overstepping our bounds and forcing something on distributors or we want everyone to stay open as much as possible. Obviously, put a little more focus on us, but it's something I think we've heard from the community. So we're just trying to make sure that we do take care of our community first, and then we'll look past that. Right now, we're not shipping a ton of beer outside the state, but I imagine we're not the only ones.
Yeah. How do distributors feel about a lot of the laws being changed to allow delivery? Do they?
I haven't heard really a peep from them, honestly. I mean, we're expecting some backlash once this passes and everything gets back to somewhat normal, business. But the amounts we're delivering we're averaging probably $2,000 worth of beer deliveries a day, which is nice, and obviously it's doesn't get a cut of that. But I think in their world, they're probably more just hoping we're able to keep our doors open so that when we do go back to normal, they can continue to rely on us as a supplier.
Yeah.
Of course, that's what I hope. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No news is good news for now, anyway.
Anything you're doing for those on-premise partners that you had to either right now or plan for the future to try to support them once they can start selling again and reopen?
The ABC still hasn't relaxed those laws as far as currying favor and giving things of value to accounts, especially in California. They're, in my opinion, they're definitely kind of still looking at those. I don't know how many people are employed by ABC at this point, but I think for us it's more trying to order takeout whenever we can if we have an account. Myself, actually, all the directors of the company order takeout every day. Even though I usually make my lunch, it's like, we can spend some money. Let's throw them some business. So I think we're doing what we can monetarily. But it is tough, when it's a different game right now. When they're not selling draft, it's definitely kind of it's a one-way street at this point. That's selfish, but we're trying to sell as much beer and product as we can. So however we can help out, we will. But right now the focus is on our own abilities to get beer out the door.
Yeah. Right. I was curious because some breweries have either talked about or they're starting like keg buyback programs to make sure that when things can restart, there's new beer given to those on-premise accounts, especially for the hoppier beers where shelf life.
Yeah, we haven't. Tommy and I spoke about this last week about how we, whatever tap handles we have, how do we keep them when they're able to open back up. So it's something in discussion. We just haven't come to the right conclusion of what we can do. I mean, again, there's legalities involved, so trying to remain above board. We both imagine that the big guys are going to start just dropping credit cards and running up huge tabs and then leaving, taking nothing, and it happens everywhere, and we're expecting to see that. So just trying to figure out what we can do to help them when the situation arises. But we haven't gotten a lot of kickback from most of our bigger accounts. I think the only thing they've done is, like O'Brien's and Curry Mesa's, their number one sellers are Mongo IPA. And for a while they couldn't fill growlers, so they ended up buying like 10 cases of Mongo like every other day and just selling those as to go. So, however we can help out accounts, we will. It's just we haven't figured out the right way to do it and not step on any toes.
Yeah.
Sure. You've talked a little bit during the course of the conversation about what the new normal could look like. And I mean, so in Massachusetts, we've been shut down for, I think, about 4 weeks. California's been shut down for a little bit longer in some ways, I think, right? But one of the things you mentioned earlier is, yeah, when this is all said and done, people might gravitate to tables instead of the bar, right? Anything else you've thought of in terms of like how the industry is going to be impacted long term after all this is said and done? Have you thought about that at all?
Oh, absolutely. We have done some really, really big events. We released a Duck Duck in 2019, 2016.
Mm.
You're talking about 2,000 people congregating in one spot. And, just think beer festivals in general, everyone's standing in line.
Mm.
I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I think people are going to be a lot more mindful of, shaking someone's hand, even small things like that. And we had a sheriff come by the other day, and he stuck his hand out for me to shake it, and I was like, "Oh, I guess I'm gonna do this." Whoa, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, it's cool, man. I just,
Right. Yeah.
I was growing up. Someone offered to shake your hand, you shake their hand.
Yeah, of course.
I think that's changing. So, looking forward, I do think it'll be more. We have a pretty big bar at the Lost Abbey, but I don't see it being as crowded as it was. I think people are going to be, it's happened now. Like, I think we've all had to, kind of live through this, and the question will be, when does it happen next, and how do we stop that sooner?
Yeah.
So I think the bar culture is going to be different. I hope so. I mean, I want people to be safe. I want people to have a good time. So, we'll see how long it takes for people's memories to forget about this whole issue and
Right.
pack bars again. But I think on a tasting room level, especially with breweries, the more tables, the more space you can give people, I think is going to prove pretty important. I think to-go sales will definitely go up. It's never been a big part of our business. We've always had people buy a bottle here, cans here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you'll see to-go sales definitely jump up. So, we need to put some more focus on packaged product, and unfortunately take draft down until we figure out what the new normal is. I think there's we were averaging like 100 cases of mango sold a week, and it's up to like 250 right now.
Wow.
The jump has been insane, but we know it's not free. Like,
Sure.
when the bar is going to open, and you're going to want to go get a pint, not buy a whole six-pack. So yeah, I think it'll change. I think the package to go business will remain and continue to grow, but I don't know. It's weird. This is a weird time. It's, I think I've had a lot of people ask me, like, well, what's going to happen? It's like, Jesus, I don't know. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, no one knows. That's why it's a novel virus, right? It's, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Man, thank you. This is helpful. What else you got, Kevin?
I guess to kind of move away from the COVID-related stuff, just continuing to look in the future. I know, as you mentioned, people are still wanting the fresh hoppy IPAs right now. Over the last couple of years, we've maybe started to see a little bit of a resurgence for lagers. Mm-hmm. Have you guys talked about, or do you sense any similar type of spike coming for Belgians in the future? More love shown to those styles again?
Yes and no. I've really dug this resurgence of lagers and pilsners that I've seen. We just brewed our first Czech pilsner under the Lost Abbey brand. It's called Noble Tendencies.
Nice.
Great beer. I mean, we've kicked 2 kegs here, and we're the only ones drinking it. So obviously, I hope the Belgian styles kind of come back and have a resurgence. We package our farmhouse lager, formerly known as Avant Garde, in 6-packs, our Devotion Blonde Ale in 6-packs. And they've been great sellers, especially during this whole thing. People want something that isn't, overly hoppy or adjunct to hell. You just get a nice crisp lager or, Belgian blonde. Yeah, I'm not sure. I hope so. I think as we've seen the lagers kind of come back, I hope that the Belgian styles, the doubles and the quads, can make a resurgence. We've sold an incredible amount of Carnival, our Brett Saison, over the last 2 weeks. And that's a beer that, we were contemplating not producing anymore. Just the sales hadn't been there. But I don't know why or what happened, but people were just loving it. And I had a guy come in and bought a case yesterday or Saturday. And I was like, "Oh, where the hell have you been for 2 years, man? I've been buying this all the time. It's an amazing beer." GABF award winner. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's something we're going to continue to push. Part of my social media push has been, going through our cellar and finding these older sours that we've been kind of sitting on, and the sales on those have been ridiculous. I mean, a lot of those beers are about $40 a bottle. I had a guy come in on Friday and was like, "Let me get two of those, and two of those, give me 3 of those." I'm like, "Okay, these are all $40 bottles." He's like, "Yeah, I know." Okay, I'm going to shut up.
Okay.
Pack up your box.
That's great.
So yeah, I definitely, I think people are digging it. And right now, selfishly, I hope people are going through their cellars and trying beers that maybe they've been sitting on and realizing that, there are other styles. And I love IPA. I drink it pretty much every day, unfortunately.
Same.
I think there are other styles, and now may be the time to, I have buddies that are doing like beer shares on Zoom and doing all kinds of, anything virtual, and they're all trying these beers that they're just sitting there and I'm like, "Damn it, I forgot about this beer." Like, yeah, there's plenty of styles that, even internally we don't drink enough of that we're trying to add that back into the rotation. We make this incredible Belgian beer, and yet we're always just drinking the IPA. Let's mix it up here. So we're even trying internally.
No, sure. We, Kevin and I were actually chatting about that earlier today, just speculating more than anything else, but it feels like it could be a decent time for consumers to be more contemplative about beer, right? Where you're not chasing the next hot thing. It's a bit more like you are actually surveying what you have in the cellar and pulling something out and sitting with it because you have more time on your hands, right?
Well, and I think less distractions too. You're not at a bar. There's no sports on. You're opening this beer. You're like, okay, well, maybe I'm on my couch for the next couple hours. Why don't I think about this beer? Why don't I look at the label? Why don't I read the label? Why don't I research about the beer? There's a lot of things that I think we're done in the craft beer industry. I know myself being really into craft beer before I even worked for the company. You'd research beers before you chugged it. You sipped it and you let it warm up a bit. And Tommy has a ton of videos that we produced online about talking through pretty much every one of our beers, and like watching those and seeing the inspiration behind why he created what he did. Even just getting some flavor profiles that maybe your palate may not be getting, but there's always that suggestive thing that we do in the bar industry is, you're going to get the taste of tangerines and immediately taste the tangerines. But that can help too if you're missing certain flavor profiles, and then kind of go through that journey on your own. But yeah, it's going to be. I think people will spend a lot more time being judgmental of beers, which is a good thing. There's a lot of not so great beers out there, and I think a lot of times it gets washed over because you're at a bar. You're not really tasting the beer; you're just drinking it. Now you're stuck at home. You're gonna taste the beer. You're gonna take a second, pause, and go, okay, maybe that's not my style. Or maybe, wow, this is amazing. But I think coming out of this, I think people will get back that that amount of research they do in each beer they taste versus, I like that name of the beer. Look at that label, which unfortunately I think is becoming the norm.
Yeah, silver lining. I hope.
Yeah. You never know. I mean, people would just go back to chugging seltzers right when this thing's over. So.
They could. Yeah, they could. We don't know how disruptive it's going to be, but we're allowed to hope.
Yeah.
Any trends in the beer industry that you see coming?
I think we've started to see more of it. The low calorie thing, I think, especially, with us doing tiny bubs, that's one of the things we're looking at. Dogfish Head, I forget the name of their super light IPA. It's like 100 calories. I think it's, especially with this younger audience, the newer beer drinkers, people coming of age, they're all pretty active. And, while I'm pretty active, I never looked at calories or, any of that stuff. I'll play basketball twice a week. I'll drink all the beer I want. I justify that. But I think people right now are ultra just kind of watchdog on exactly what they're putting in their body, which is a good thing. But giving them options to do some lower calorie stuff. I think that's why you're also seeing the resurgence in lagers and pilsners that a lot of breweries are doing. Just something lighter, something that's not going to, weigh you down. While I love an 8% IPA, one of our dank and sticky IPAs. If I can get, we just did a new Strata beer, Strata Swell at 6%. That's what I've been taking home. It's like, all right, 6%, I can have a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Super out of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd say some of the more, looking at the younger crowd and figuring out what they're doing. And I think a lot of them just having an active lifestyle. They want something lighter and refreshing. I think that's why you've seen the seltzer market kind of blow up. I personally don't like them, but I can see why. I've been on the golf course when they were open, and I had a buddy order a White Claw, and I'm like, "What in the hell is wrong with you? Like, they have 805. Let's get an 805. What are you doing? God, it's more refreshing and it's lighter calories. Man. Get out of here."
Right.
From the women's too. But it's been. I think looking at that. Other than that, I'm really wondering. I was hoping the pastry stout thing was going to die, but I think that's going to get increasingly bigger. I don't know how many more adjuncts you can put in a stout, but every festival I've been to for this last year, if you have a pastry stout of some kind, you have this huge line. I don't get it. I don't agree with it, but I think on a decadence level, people don't realize that has as many calories as a dessert. So they think they're just having satisfying their sweet tooth, but not putting on the pounds. But it's exactly the opposite. I can see both of those continuing to grow.
Cool.
Any other questions on your end, Scott?
I think we covered everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Adam. Anything else you want to add or ask us?
I don't think so. I got to run on the canning line in like 2 minutes.
All right. Well, listen, appreciate you taking the time. This was great. I'm glad things are going well, all things considered. I hope that obviously we're all out of this soon and be in touch. Thanks again for chatting with us.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yep. Appreciate it. See ya.
Good luck, Adam. Bye.